Well, welcome to another live trading video. It is, what is the date? It is the January 27th, Thursday. Market just opened 3 minutes ago, about 4 minutes ago actually. No trading in the first 5 minutes for me. One of the things, what I decided I'll do is I started a sub account with roughly about $1,500 in it. And I figured what we'd do is we would see if we can, or just trade a small account. And one of the reasons for that is because there's different strategies with trading small accounts. From what you see, obviously, in my live trading, I always have enough powder, so to say, or enough capital to kind of trade myself out of certain trades. That's the way I like to trade. In this type of scenario where you have a small account, you really can only do about 2 or 3 lots. You can only really... you have to be very focused on where you do your entries. You have to be really a sniper. You have to have that sniper mindset until you get to about 3 to 5,000. Once you get to 3 to 5,000, then you can start mixing it up with 3 lots, 6 lots. You know, I like to do 3s where you can, and I've said this before, trading is a churn. It is it's a grind. And you grind it out, and you grind it out by making a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, and then those trailing positions that you get into, those are your account builders. That's really the best way to do that, especially if you're doing intraday trading. So we're about to head into, so we just headed into the first 5 minutes. We've got, if we look at the NQ, it'd probably be a difficult day to trade, I would assume, because we're coming, if you look at the daily, maybe not. We're coming off a bottom, or trying to create a bottom. We've got the weekly open above us. We've got a lot of the momentum indicators. We've got the Rex Dog average up here. We're below the 200s. So it's a tall order for the buyers. But I would assume they probably want to come up and test this high at a minimum. That's probably at a minimum what they want to do. So we're going to be looking for long opportunities initially. Overnight, the overnight Globex section, pretty much from 9 o'clock my time, was just a momentum long environment. Did have a little bit of a pullback right around 4 o'clock. So reaction to the London after the London Open, and then sold off, found support kind of at a key level, and then continued up. So I don't see a trade right now that we want to take. Just we want to see we really want to see where does this bottom at. And I mean, we already hit 1 reaction area, went through it, 2 reaction areas, went through it. Probably should be momentum short here. So let's just do 1 position here, and let's start here. Just got to be careful of volatility, because obviously the last couple of days has been pretty vol filled. So just got to be very mindful of that. So give it a little bit of room to figure out whether or not it wants to fail right there. Probably our first trade will probably be a bad trade here. Maybe not. Let's see. You know, one of the challenges with a small account is that you're always trading from fear, because you don't have enough. You can't really go in the position size that you should go in to build your account properly. So 1 or 2 bad trades can really ding your account. So you've really got to be very mindful of your trade opportunities. I mean, you should be anyways. But when you have larger accounts and then you can trade, the way I trade, just for people that are new, is I'm trading at a size where I always have enough powder, so to say, in the back end, where if I really get on the wrong side of a trade when I get aggressive, I can trade myself out of that pretty quick, because you can usually you're not wrong for too long. If you've trading a system, or you trading something, so that's a decent trade. If you're trading a system, or you're trading something that you've developed, or you're trading the Rex Dog system, you're going through my training, for instance, and you're adopting the Rex Dog system. You're trading a system that I've traded for years. I've back tested. I've chose these things because they work, because they have high probabilities. So when you're trading around those areas, the probability that you're going to be wrong for 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, the more that you're wrong, the closer you are to being right. Now, obviously, if you're completely on the wrong side of the momentum, that can change. But the way that we trade the rec stock system, you're trading at high probability reaction areas. And typically, those are around other high probability reaction areas. So if the market doesn't react to that first reaction area, it's typically going to react to the next one. If it doesn't react to that one, then it's going to react to the next one. So, that's what I say when I can trade my way out of it. You can't really do that with a small account. You just don't have that ability, just because like I said, that trade, if it would have went against us in the other direction, we would have been down. What did we start at? $15.77. So we would have been down $50 or so. So, and that's a lot for a $1,500 account. And that's a lot mentally as well. That's the one thing that I think is the hardest thing when you have a small account, is that mentally, every trade is a fear trade. And it's hard. You can't trade when you're trading from fear. I have an upcoming video that I'm working on this, on fear and everything. But let me adjust my seat here. But that's really the key. You can't trade from fear. And a lot of times when you're on a small account, you're trading from fear. So I don't really want to be long here, but it did switch to momentum long. So see what happens here. Euro USD. Let's go to big tech. It's not what I want. Why is that not the one that I'm looking for? We'll only be trading the MNQ today. I mean, we probably could look at the Russell. Russell gapped up there. It's interesting. So it looks like a decent pullback, and then, or a decent support from this pullback here. Switched over to momentum long. Looks like maybe it wants to retest the weekly early into the opening range. So let's do the same type of entry. Not going to be too aggressive. Got to close here the candle in 3 minutes. So it's enough time for this 5-minute candle here to potentially, no, it's not going to. Yeah. One thing you can absolutely not do when you're trading a small account is trade or chase small trades. So you cannot chase trades. So ordinarily I probably would have picked up a position there just because that's where it looks like it's going, but we're probably better off just being patient. Protect this position a little bit. Mainly because so TradingView just added something, hide individual indicator values. Well, that's cool. You know, they do these things, but they don't. They always have to do things. What I mean by that is that I don't want to get into that. They just they're never fully do. I mean, they do cool things, but they just never fully do the cool things that I want them to. Big tech. This is what I wanted to see. So we want to see what's happening when the aggregate big tech hitting the VWAP. Today's VWAP. Got other various VWAPs here. See, it's below most of them. Most of the recent 10-day VWAPs. Got a key level here at 7582. Got a weekly level. It is above the weekly on this aggregated position of big tech, which basically means that some of the tech actual products are probably in the green for the week. Maybe a few of them. It's a pretty big green candle there. Should have been a little bit more aggressive on that entry. Wow, that's a nice move. So the question now is, as it approaches this weekly, now there's two weekly opens. There's the regular, which is the index itself. So there's that open. And then, which is up here, which is 14496. And then there is what they call the electronic trading hours, which is the NQ open, which is a futures open. There's two opens. I would go off the index just because the index we're in the cash market, so that's what you should be looking at. It sucks to miss this overall move. It really does. Let's pull back here. I mean, we kind of know where it's going, so I probably should have just took that anyways. We know it's going to go to the weekly open. I mean, we don't know that, but that's when you're answering the three questions: where is price coming from? Where does it want to go? Where it wants to go is the weekly open. I'm going to take this trade here, probably early. Yeah. See what happens. This is what happens when you chase a trade. So we'll get picked up there, and then we'll do one more down here.
Stop filled.
Oh, how is my stop fill? Oh. That was a stop.
Order filled.
Here we go. We want to be in. Move this up.
Order filled.
And then one more for an overshoot. Got to be very mindful that you're in the upper level of this previous candle. A deep pullback would be back here, where it's going. And you also have to realize that now it's shifting momentum short. So this is what I mean by a small account. See, I've got to wrap my mind around, I got to get back into the zone of trading a small account. But it's kind of hard to time these overshoot pullbacks like this because you don't know how deep it wants to go, but you're pretty confident that it's, at least if you're taking the trade like I just did, you're confident that what's happening is what happened or what is going to happen, which is it's momentum long. It's going for a particular price area. You're pretty confident that it wants to tag at least at a minimum one of the weekly opens. So it's in some ways you've got to just say, okay, well, on the next pullback into this next candle, I've got to find an area to enter a position. Now you could have waited probably right here in this green candle here is probably the best. Would have been the best way to do that, obviously. Now we're going to protect this position because we do not want to go negative anymore. And so we'll just put in some trailing stops. Give it a little bit of room. We got to give it room to actually move up. So far I have one bad trade. The one where I chased the trade. I wouldn't quite call this a bad trade. I just was a little early, so I'd probably give it a C, just because I felt the overall direction of the market, but I probably entered a little too early. Should have gave it a little bit of room to pull back and kind of fake people out, so to say. So we're up 273. I took one off because I'm going to take a profit here. Because it's hitting the weekly level. So you take profits at probability areas where you expect a reaction. We're going to let it overshoot it a little bit. No, we're not. Just do.
Order filled.
There we go. I'm going to remove one of these and we're going to put this down here. All right. So far we're off to a good start. Let's talk about this last trade because I want people that are trying to learn to really understand. If you haven't watched the 3 videos on my channel or the video on the 3 questions, you need to watch that video. It's basically you're always asking the 3 questions in trading, which is where is price coming from, where does it want to go, and how does it want to get there? Where is price coming from is the easiest question to answer because you know where it's coming from. Where it wants to go, well, that's where you use the system. You either use your own system or use the Rexdog system to tell you high probability places that the market wants to test. So this is an obvious one, the weekly open. Well, all night it's been momentum long working on going towards somewhere. Well, it took out this level here. So it took out this level here. And when it took out this level here, the next big level is the weekly open, both the index and the NQ itself. So that's in your narrative as you're looking forward. Where does it want to go? How does it want to get there? That's the hardest question to ever answer because it's so hard unless you've been in the markets for a while and you've been watching charts. Nothing really replaces chart time. You being able to strategize how it wants to get there really only comes from experience and from you looking at charts and from you understanding the concept of time and how time plays a role in the market, which is the hardest thing to get. That being said, really only answering 2 of those questions you can do very well, because if you can keep your emotions in check on how does it want to get there, which is usually time, meaning that on this trade here, we know it wants to get to the weekly open. At least that's our thesis. It's taken a hard time to get there. That's our thesis. That's why I took profit too, because we're nearing a stall area. So take profit at key areas where there's a high probability of the market having a reaction. Well, the 2 questions are easy to answer. Where is it coming from? Where does it want to go? But when you get to how does it want to get there, that's all emotional. Because that is, like right now, we're up 160, 150, whatever dollars. You're emotionally seeing your profit drain. You're seeing maybe, okay, it rejected off the weekly. Maybe we should go momentum short. Maybe we should, based on what we're seeing. But this is where the hard side of trading comes in, because you can often identify where does it want to go, where is it coming from. But when you talk about how does it want to get there, this involves, it could be 7 bars. It could be 2 hours. It could be immediately. A lot of that is dependent on volatility and what time of the day you're in and everything else. But it also depends on really just putting your emotions in check and trading your plan, trading your system. So this was another pullback here, looks like. Another momentum check that overshot, held up. Let's see here. So would have been nice to be able to keep that last position that was taken out, but it is what it is there. So why is it stalling right here is the question you should ask. You should always be asking, why is it stalling? What level is it looking at? What indicator is it stalling on? What momentum check? You're also thinking in probabilities. So this is the regular trading hours, and then this is the futures. obviously the futures, and just for those that are maybe new, what I'm really bouncing between is this is the futures chart, 24 hours trading, well, minus settlement, but 24 hours trading. If we open up another chart and we go here, should have got in that on the way back. NDX. You know, this is lame. And I don't know if this is, so I pay for, I don't know what I pay. I pay for a lot of things on TradingView for data. And also I pay for data on other platforms. So I'm double dipping on data, or I'm paying double on data. But the NDX data is delayed by 15 minutes for some odd reason. I don't know if that's from the actual index itself or that's from... So this is another thing that you should do. So this is delayed 15 minutes, so this really isn't helpful. So what you can do is there's another thing on here called NDQ, which is the US 100 index. It's the same thing. It's just whatever. It's calculated by TradingView itself. So it gapped up. So what you're immediately thinking on a day like today, and I didn't really go back into the price action of the last couple days, but the last couple days, yesterday was FMLC day. And the Fed had some announcements and stuff. I mean, not really. The Fed no longer does announcements. Their announcements mean both things at the same time. So it's really, I don't know. But you're thinking, is this a gap and go day? It's not really a gap and go day, because a gap and go day, literally it gaps and then it just takes off. This is kind of a gap, go, stall, maybe come back to the momentum indicators. That's really, so here's the daily open. Sold off from the daily open, obviously came back to the momentum indicators, and then held up on those. So one trade we can look at here that might be a good high probability trade, and we got stopped out there, is we're going to go short now.
Order filled.
Let's not be too aggressive. I only got a little bit of room there, so we got to be very careful here. Meaning that there's only a little bit of room for a reaction. Sorry, I know I'm going from explaining things to trading. All right, so we're targeting this area here.
Stop filled.
We're looking for it to get down to here. Maybe this level here, 275. Be a good way. See if we can get picked up on a pullback. So what do we see here? We see a low. I could be completely off base here, but what do we attribute this current reaction to? Stops being hit on this low. I could be completely wrong. It could be aliens, for all I know. Could be aliens see this low and they want to buy it. I don't know. And I say that tongue in cheek, but I say that because unless you've worked in an institution, you've worked in a market maker, unless you've worked or you know someone that's worked in the pits, not really the pits anymore, but worked on, a trading desk, that's worked at someone that actually has the inside knowledge of like what's really happening on level 2, on the other, kind of behind the scenes, on the market making side. And unless you've learned from someone, and I don't really like the way this trade is actually marking up, so we're going to get out of that. Unless you know someone in that realm, then really
Order filled.
however they choose to explain this stuff is just a guess. There's no way for them to really know. And they're just coming up with their own terms or their own way to explain what's happening. I mean, it is obviously an easy thing to explain that, hey, there's stop losses below this low. And then you're going to have then buyers jump onto those stop losses. I'm not being aggressive here because this might turn here. It might have wanted to just hit this level below this low and go. I'm not being too aggressive. But I would expect it shouldn't close above this high here. It might tap above it. So if I get taken out, I might go short again. I mean, you say, well, why don't you just move your stop? I probably should do that. We're still targeting this area here. Down here.
Stop filled.
Ah. The buyers are strong today. Stronger. All right, so put an entry down here. And an entry here. Got to be careful that you're not trading within a range. So I said the buyers are strong, but they're really not because they got pounded there. And this looks like it's going to come back to our original area. Ooh, that's painful. See that? See how you can be on the wrong side of the trade real quick? Yeah, so we were ultimately right on where it wanted to tag. Just wasn't right on the timing there. See, this is why most people cannot trade this at this account size because this is stressful right here. This exact trade would be very stressful to someone that's in a small account size. And I guess I should be treating it that way. I mean, I'm reading the trade as it's unfolding. And we might just get out here if it doesn't move here. It needs to move right here. So we're not going to give it any room. Yeah. It needs to move literally right here. Doesn't move here, then it's not going to move. Yeah, see, I should have gave it a little bit more room. Oh, I'm in 4 positions? How did I get in 4? That's why that dollar figure was higher.
Order filled.
All right. I got out because one of the rules I have is that you fix mistakes immediately, even if it was going in your favor. So I was in 4 positions there. I don't know how I misread. And I shouldn't be in 4 positions. It's a little too high, given this account size, given where it's at right here. This isn't a high reaction area. We're looking for, I mean, it hit the RDA, but it's so close to this level and the other momentum indicator that we would either look for an overshoot of this, go long. Because right now you've got 2 things that are happening. Two kind of magnets to the price. Got the weekly open, which is up here. Previous day open too. You got the weekly open, and then you've got, well, no, it's above the weekly open now. Sorry, it's above the weekly open. You've got the, you do have the weekly open, but you have this gap here, and this is on the index itself. So you've got this gap here. So you've got the gap pulling, doesn't want to fill the gap, and then you've got obviously the previous day open. You got the previous day high. So it's really looking at those things, and it's saying, okay, what do we want to do? I think we just sit on our hands here for a little bit, see if it wants to approach this level down here, which is a pretty big move. what did we start at? 15 something? So this isn't quite accurate because I think I was already up $100 before because I did one trade pre-market that I didn't record. So it's really 271 or so, the performance for today. It's gonna make me wish I would have actually stayed in that trade. But once again, I made a mistake. All right, so probability wise, based on what you see here, is that it's not going to sell off. Probability wise, based on what you see here, is that it's going to pull back maybe one more time, but it's going to reach for that next level. So hopefully we only got picked up on one. This pattern here, and I talk about this in the new training that I released. You're going to see this pattern here many times. So people that are in the rec stock trading training, if you're in the training, I outline this pattern, especially on the big tick, but you're going to see it all over. So this pattern here, where's the shapes? This pattern here, especially around the indicators, you're going to see that a lot. And you're going to want to see that a lot because that's bottoming behavior, even on a smaller time frame. So you're going to be looking for that. Doesn't always work, but it works good, I'd say 80% of the time. When you see a pattern, this specific pattern play out. Obviously on the higher time frames, you don't see this pattern on time charts. You don't see the pattern that's this tight. And maybe I'll do another video in the training on that to explain this further. If you're in the training and you're watching this, leave a comment and just say, hey, yeah, I'd like to understand that greater. But on time charts, you don't see it this tight. You see the same type of pattern, but you don't see it this tight. All right. Let's give it a little bit of opportunity to overshoot. Don't really like that based on the yeah. I didn't really want to get picked up there quite yet. But so the downside definitely has, I mean, if you look at this, most of the lows are being rejected at a greater amount than the highs. So we'll put in our trailing stops, take one off, take this off. It's very skittish to try to get above that high.
Stop filled.
At this point, I'm more than happy to kind of start over. If it doesn't move. Because what are we doing here? We're buying the high. If you look at this, we're at a range. Be very mindful of where you're always at in the chart. So it could break out. But what are you doing here? If you're going long here, in this area here, you're buying the high. I mean, you got a weekly level above you, but you're buying a high. That's the NQ. What is that? Electronia. So that is the NQ open on Sunday. So if you're buying here, you're buying the high. I mean, it could then just rip from here, and this could be a breakout. But you're just mindful of where you're at, especially on the time charts. It still has room to pull back. Could pull back to here and still kind of make the move. The other thing that you're thinking about is that it just crossed the 9 o'clock hour. It's 9:08. Ah, look at that move. There we go. Oh, it would have been nice to be in two positions, but obviously 1 hour levels are here. This is so obvious. 533. So it's probably reaching for that. We look at the NQ, we look and see what's on 533 on the 1 hour. 538, and then we've got the high over there. So this is the obvious breakdown level. So the target level really for a good short opportunity is right in here. 638 if it gets there. I would go off probably maybe right here. If it's strong, you got to be prepared up to 733, which is a big move. Don't get me wrong. Where do we get taken out at? Yeah, we're really just kind of trading water there. What were we at before? 420. I don't remember what we were at before. I really don't track my P&L. I do it on stream or when I'm recording just because I don't know. I guess that's what people like. That's what I see other people doing. So kind of want to go long here again. Let's see if we can get picked up here. If it gets here, which is there below that level, then it's probably going to go here. And if it, yeah, let's not be so aggressive. Maybe we should have been aggressive. And this is, and you're really getting, I mean, if you're starting a small account, you're probably very skittish with your entries. You're probably very careful. You should be, obviously. But, and this is something that I'll cover more and more, which is when you're in a small account, fear is probably driving the majority of your decisions. So you really can't trade that well. So you really have to find ways to get beyond the fear. I have some kind of tips and advice on how to do that. Well, I mean, the biggest thing is screen time. Nothing can replace screen time. Should have got picked up there. See, even I'm trading skittish just because of the account size. It's probably just going to rip through this high. Well, first thing we want to do is we do not want to actually, we're at the weekly open here, and we do not want to go long there. If anything, we're in the yesterday's opening range. If anything, what we probably want to do is around the 430 level sell. If it gets there. So right around here, sell. And then see, not be too aggressive, get picked up on a RDA check. It's kind of where we're at right now. While we wait to get picked up, is there anything else we can cover? Let's look at the so this is the big tech, and we see that it is above the weekly open. Come up, hit one VWAP, another VWAP, another VWAP, another VWAP, another VWAP. These are all 10-day VWAPs. So start of 10-day VWAPs. So where did we get picked up? I'm not trusting anything right now. Should have trusted that. Should have stayed in that. I was a little too aggressive on that stop loss there. Re-enter on the below the low. If it gets there, we really want to cut this in half. So let's Let's see if we can get here. I don't like this entry here, so we're going to put this up here. Especially as we're talking. Mainly because if it does spike up, it could just spike right into that range. So we'll put it a little bit lower. So these are 10-day VWAPs. Basically what these are is they're just the VWAPs. These are, you can see here, these are anchored VWAPs. We see we're well below all that. Can pretty much guarantee if price gets here, we're going to see a reaction. We did previously see a reaction, which is overshoot here. And then what does that move? Really had a 16% sell-off from that point. So I would anticipate it gets here, an overshoot, it's going to have another sell-off. That's really what we're targeting. It's got to get through all these recent. So these dotted lines are 10-day, meaning that they're each one represents a 1 day, or the start, the opening. It's anchored to the opening of one of the 10 days. So like this one here is from 2 days ago. This one, yeah, this one here is from, is that yesterday? No, from the 24th. This one here is from the 26th. So this one's yesterday. So, all right. Kind of in a no trade zone right now. I mean, if we get picked up back on a check, then that's what we'll do. So we're kind of just being patient. Get picked up on a check. Be patient above, kind of pick our spots. You know, I came across this site here too, Whiteboard Crypto. I shared it in Discord. What I like about it is that what it allows you to do is one of the most annoying things about crypto. And anybody that's getting in just has a huge learning curve, I think. But like, if you want to buy Matic, but you want to transact on Polygon, and you don't want to transact on the ETH chain, for instance, well, you have to kind of know where do you buy so that you can transact on the Matic network, on Polygon, so that, you know, your transaction fees aren't, let's just say you do $100 on ETH. Obviously your transaction fee is going to be 20 some odd dollars or whatever it is. Okay, so we got picked up here on a check. We're going to put our stop loss below the low. Let it give it a little bit of room. Really should have done 2 positions there, but I guess I got another opportunity. If I believe this. Needs to close above this. I want to give it enough room, but not too much room. All right, so now I'm trying to see if I want to add. See, with a small account, it is a grind too. I mean, it's a grind normally, but I could have done 2 positions there or 3, but once again, if I'm wrong, that could wipe out all the work we've done this morning on this day so far. So really, you just got to be very mindful of. So I'm going to cut this in the middle. An advanced strategy. What do we see here for people in the rec stock trading system? You see the purple line. That's what's there. The purple indicator that a lot of people don't have in their chart. So do I have it on? I don't. Not here, because I don't need it there. I do here. So that purple indicator, you're not going to see it on this chart because this chart is printing differently than this chart. But on this chart, your purple indicator is probably going to be right around here. It feels like it's going to sell off. All right, we got to go.
Order filled.
I shorted. That sounded odd. So there we go. I think it's going to go here. So, and then we're going to put another entry here. I think. I mean, it might not. I'm going to give it room. So I want my stop to be above here. Buyers are still stepping up. So you want to watch stuff like this because if you contrast it to the previous days where it was a bidless environment, see how it's stalling every time? And that's not stalling because it's bashful. It's stalling because there's buyers, there's various things, there's other sides of the market being hit. This probably was a bad mistake because it might come up and test this area. So that's really what it's doing. I'm not going to be as aggressive here as it gets closer here. It's going to take us out.
Stop field.
Yeah, I should have stayed in that. So we'll hit our area, but I'm not. You got to be very mindful of what type of day is happening. So what happened there? Well, you just really can't get any closer than that, can you? Hit the weekly open for the NQ. For the futures, bounced off. And now you would expect a momentum check, a big momentum check. Well, around this area here, 325. And it's about to be, it's 10 minutes into the, 10 minutes till the end of the opening session. So you would expect, where are we at time-wise? 4 minutes in this candle. So this candle can come up here, retest this high here. Sell off and then sell off. And then the next candle can sell off below into these ranges here. And then overshoot a key level on the opening range. And then take off back to the upside is one thesis. So let's trade on that thesis. So on that thesis, what we would do is we got a high here. So we've got an entry here. Got an entry above the high. And then we have one final entry that we can put here. This is a little aggressive trading right here. Because we can be wrong here pretty quick. So we're momentum short. Got to be very mindful on the big tick. We have the momentum indicator that's held. So we just can't get tunnel vision. On the 1 hour, we're still 1 hour momentum long now. We've breached the RDA. So that's showing some intention. I'm not going to go negative on this trade. So it did the thing, did what we expected it to do. We plan to scale in. I should really highlight what I just did there. Now it might not go in our favor. It might come back and retest us here. Yeah. So I'm trying to see the time. All right. I'm still short. So what I wanted to highlight there is, what did we do there? What did I do there? I entered at one area, but then I put entries above. And that's what I mean by scaling in a lot of times. You have to plan to scale in. Now it ultimately went the direction that we went. So we probably should have just put an entry above this high here. So that's what I mean by scaling in. I planned to scale in there. So I didn't have any, that was my plan on that trade. I was planning to scale into that trade. That's what I mean by you kind of plan to scale in. If you develop a system of trading around scaling in on your entries and obviously your exits as well, I find that that's the best way, because it's very hard to be right. And if you're right in the general area, it's easy to scale in a way that you don't feel quote unquote negative pain for too long if you plan to scale in. And I think I tagged that. I'm not going to be as aggressive because I did enter there. I'm going to go down here. Tag the area I was looking for it to tag. So I don't want to miss the trade, but I also don't want to be so early that we're going to get hurt. And we're still, this is a fade trade on the short term time frame. So since it's a fade trade, we don't want to be too aggressive because we're momentum short here. We really probably should. Yeah. All right. I kind of see where it wants to go. I kind of have a feeling of where I think it wants to go. I could be completely wrong here, but I think it wants to go right here. Not going to give it a lot of room to spike against us, just because we're close to the end of opening range. So we're not going to give it a lot of room. We'll give it a little bit of room. $292 is our level. So anywhere here, I probably want to be a buyer. There's that low here. It's a pretty obvious level. Going to be taken out. Let's give it a little bit of room.
Stop filled.
Ah, well, that sucked. Now the only trade is really here. So you've got a lot of, I would assume you've got a lot of buy orders and stop losses below this low. That's the obvious place for it to stop. The less obvious place is right above it, so that no one gets picked up. And it also coincides with a couple key things. So I'm sure most people that have gone through the tick training here can see where it's coinciding. Really, that's a trade you should take. Let's short. Got to be very careful here because we're 3 minutes into the opening range, so it could spike one way or the other. But let's call the bluff on if it gets up here. I mean by that is that if it gets above the momentum indicators here and it looks like it wants to maybe go momentum long, I think it's going to have another. I think it has another sell-off in them. We didn't get picked up there. I was right. Should have put my entry right there. Shouldn't have looked for an overshoot. Just look at that, about 1 or 2 ticks away.
Order filled.
All right. Now here you need to be very careful. Got picked up. Don't want to be too aggressive. So let's give it a little bit of room to really sell off here. I mean, we do want to be a buyer at this range, I think. We've got the 1 hour level here too. So previous 1 hour open that it just crossed below. We got another close here. So, but we also have the next 2 minutes. And yeah, we should have been less aggressive.
Order filled.
But what did I do once again? I plan to scale in. Took out that low. So you have a choice here. Really, you're going to get an opportunity to get out here. So we're going to take that opportunity and get out. And because we're so close to the opening range, I just want to see what it's going to do here. And I want to be a buyer there, I do. But at the same time, you've got to respect the sellers. You really got to respect that they've been in control the last week. So, you know, someone that's had the confidence and has been right the last week, you don't really want to step in front of. So we're just very mindful of that. Because what do we also have down here? We have all the way down here, we have the momentum check, which is a great area for a lot of people to be feeling pain.
Order filled.
All right. I saw what I needed to see there. I think the momentum's on the short side here. So what I just did there is really only thing, I'll be upfront with you. The only way you're going to trade at this level is screen time. Okay. I mean, there's a system. Okay. You need to be trading the system. So while I'm not telling you the decisions that I'm making, that decision that I just made to enter here was solely based on what it's doing around the momentum indicators. Should have took some profit there. Or the problem with one position is that you really got to pick and choose. Do you want to take profit at a certain point in time, or do you want to give it room? So it's just closed the opening range, so you expect volatility here because a lot of decisions are being made based on what happened on the opening range. But so that trade, or this trade that I took here,
Stop filled.
is I'm basing my decisions on what's happening relative to the momentum indicators, but I'm also a lot of it is screen time, but it's based on, I should have shorted there again instead of talking. Okay, here we are. We're below this. Here's where I really want to be a buyer down here.
Order filled.
There we go. That's a little too early. Yeah, too early, damn it. I'm going to get a chance to get out here. Or it could, if it rips up here and closes above this, then we've caught the bottom. We are below the low, so we expect reaction here. We expect some reaction here below the lows. Now we want to see range expansion. That's what we want to see. We want to see range expansion to the upside. We want to see one big green candle take this out. Or one big red candle. You know, that could happen too. Yeah. Do I want to reverse? Once again, you're standing in front. Remember that you need to put it in perspective. What are we doing? We're standing in front of the sellers right now. We're calling the bluff on the sellers, even though they've been in control all week. I don't want to do either one here, so we're just going to get out.
Filled.
Hurt the PN. Yeah, see, there we go. See, this is the problem with a small account. You just got to be very cautious around key areas. Because ordinarily, I would have stayed into that. All right.
Order filled.
There we go. I'm going to have to chase the trade a bit here.
Order filled.
And then we're going to do one more here to protect our, not protect ourselves, but to, it should be up higher. We're going to believe that low. And then we're going to look for a pattern. That's what we're going to do now. Believe that low, this low here. We're going to believe this low. We're going to look for the pattern. Why? Well, it tagged something important. Should have stayed in that trade. It's probably going to rip up here in a second. Good rip down, but it really feels like it wants to rip back up. Below the RDA, you could look at that in one aspect. Took out the low for the day. Came back down. I think it does want to take out the high the previous day. I think that's where it really wants to go. There we go. All right. So now needs to close above here for us to really be confident in this move. It's very skittish. So I don't want to go negative here, so we're going to put fixed stops here. It's going to take us out.
Stop filled.
Yeah, but we're going to re-enter.
Order filled. Order filled.
And then one right here. Remember, we're believing this low. Probably should have gave it a little bit more room on the stop loss, but who knows if it wanted to take out that low. So I rechecked the low, so it should not close below this low is really what we're looking for right now. And it needs to close above this. Gonna do the same thing we just did. It's gonna take us out again. You know, you can't get mad at the chart. And you can't feel bad about being wrong and being taken out. Look, if I'm taken out here, I'm going to start over. Just because, look, you just can't, you just got to take it in stride. We're trying to time a bottom here. That's what we're doing. So put it in perspective. We're trying to time a bottom. So really what we should probably do is, if we had a bigger account, instead of trying to time a bottom, we should wait for the pattern to play out and then trade the pattern. But since we're trying to time a bottom, we got to be very careful with a small account.
Order filled.
And our stop loss probably should have been below this low. But if it gets down there and we're taken out and then it bounces up, see, here's the challenge with the small account. This is something that often isn't talked about, is that our stop loss should be down here. It really should be down here. We're also trading in a very aggressive style. I'm trading in a very aggressive style, meaning that I'm trying to time a bottom. Now we are below the low of the day, so we expect some reaction. But I'm trying to time a bottom. In addition, I'm on a small account. So if I put my stop loss down here, that's really where we expect some type of reaction below these lows at a minimum. I mean, it might just continue momentum short. But if we put our stop losses down here, we're going to take a bigger loss than we want to. And then it's just going to maybe just turn around. So we really just got to protect our position, especially if we're trying to time a bottom like I'm doing here. The best thing probably to do is to wait for it to break these highs and then come in on a pullback. I just don't trade that way. You know, I just I like to be an aggressive trader, I guess you could say. Because I like to be in, like I like to be in down here, which is where I was in. But that's where that's the type of trader I am. I know who I am. I trade the way I trade. My P&L speaks for itself. So, you know, who I don't care what any other, I do, obviously, I have a few mentors that I look to and I care what they have to say. But at the end of the day, I'll stack my P&L up against that. Any advice someone else gives me against, okay, well, can you have the same X% returns Yeah, my style probably is a little aggressive. I do agree. Yeah, so this sell-off is not. So we need to. So now that this, so we no longer believe this low.
Order filled.
But we've got another area down here that we're going to go long on, which is right here,
Order filled.
and then right here, and then right here. So we gave that low a chance to prove itself. Low decided not to prove itself. We got to be mindful of, are we in tunnel vision? Meaning that, are we on the wrong side of the momentum here? Does it want to be momentum short the rest of the day? I actually want to be picked up here. It's going to come up here and at least test this area here. At least up to here. That's what I see so far. But we're not going to be aggressive. We're fade trading. So again, you're in a fade trade. We need to crack the 2000 level. We don't need to, but yeah, I should have added there. So we'll add at the entry. We'll add right here. So any pullback here should be, if it hits us and picks us up here, it better be answered quickly with buyers.
Order filled.
There we go. And we are going to put our stops down here. All right, I think we have the turn here. I think we got the bottom here. It could come over here, overextend beyond the RDA, sell off. So we'll keep this here. You've got this level here, which is very key. So we'll close above this. On this candle, we'll show some upside strength. So that wasn't the right bottom. This might be a bottom we would want to keep. So let's just risk losing all of our position here. See, this is the problem with a small account. Should be taking profit here. Well, there's two trains of thought. Well, not really. Some people say trade your plan and stop loss should be where it should be. I agree with that on swing trading, for instance. On intraday trading, where you're watching the chart, you're responding to the market movement. So, all right, so if it takes this out, we're going to take some profit.
Order filled.
Just because. All right, so let's put a fixed stop loss here. So meaning that it's just going to stay there. It's not going to trail. And then we're looking to short up here. What we're also looking for is for it to be a momentum long position. And then maybe add on the long side. And more. I need to stop the video because we're 1 hour in and I got to make sure that it renders down. So I'll stop it. I'll be back in a second. Okay, so there we are. Now, I would say if we do hit 2,000, that's a pretty good return on a 1,500 or so account. What is that? I don't know calculation-wise, percentage-wise. It's a pretty good return. Now, keep in mind, so let me talk to specifically new traders and people that are not in the training. Okay, if you're not in my training, there's probably two reasons why. Number one, you don't think that there's an edge there that you could trade around, or you just can't afford it. It's beyond your means, or you need your capital for trading, obviously, or you don't see value in it. There's three reasons really. You don't see any value in it at all, but I don't know why I'd be watching my videos then, unless you're hate watching. But let's talk about where I'm at here, and let me give you some perspective, okay? I had someone reach out to me DM in Discord and say, if I could only trade at like 30% or 50% of what you trade at, I would be happy. Let me share with you how to get there, okay? And this is for anybody, even if you're in training. The first thing is that you have a system that you have looked at historically in charts. So the Rexdog system, which you see here, you can, on your own free time, an hour a day, 2 hours a day, you can take the Rexdog system and you can look at historical markets and historical charts, and you can see patterns, and you can see how things behave, and you can see the rules that you learn in the Rexdog trading. You can learn about the opening range, you can learn about the momentum checks, you can learn about intention, reaction areas. Not learn, but you can look at those and you can see it very clearly in historical charts. That's one aspect of it. So that's the first thing you need to do, because that's how you get conviction, is that you look at a system, you develop a system, you adopt a system, and you make it your own, and you trade it with conviction. The next thing is something that I can't give you, and this is for anybody that's just starting out or adopting the Rexdog system, is that I can't give you the screen time. I'm able to do this because of a combination of my system and my conviction. And my conviction comes from my screen time. The only way that you can get screen time is by sitting in front of a live market and trading. Trading a demo account is okay. It's not real. So the only way you get real screen time is actually to play in the pros, so to say. Trade a real account and trade at a small size. That's the only way to do it. Now we're going to wish that we were a little bit bigger on size here. Because what did it do? What did this 5 minute do? It took out this high. Well, it closed at this high. So now let's get a little, not aggressive, but let's just see if we can get picked up on a pullback here on an overextension of the momentum checks. Now, so what are you saying here? We're below the opening range. You're saying, okay, well, if it comes back down and closes below the opening range, the sellers are going to think that they're back into control. But then you're calling the bluff really on the sellers. And that's probably right here where we should have added. Probably right here. But once again, need to be mindful of, we've been in a market where the sellers have been in control. So you don't want to be too aggressive.
Order filled.
All right, and then see that also really changes our basis. So we're down here. So we could be negative on this trade pretty quick, especially if we're on the wrong side, because it did a momentum check. So we better make sure that we're right here, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't like the way that it's lining up for a momentum switch. So we got to be mindful of that. Yeah, see. We're going to get out of that. It needs a move here. Like right here. Yeah, see? Once again, you're on the wrong side. Yeah. I mean, you want to see that, but this is a hard thing to trade. Yeah, the volatility here, we need to get out because it can go either way. I'm just giving a little bit of an opportunity to find buyers. Just a little bit, because it's at a key level there in that candle. So
Order filled.
it's too volatile right there. We were up pretty good. See? Just wasn't patient enough. That's the problem with the small account. I'm trading from an aspect of fear.
Order filled.
I'll just be upfront with you. I'm trading from an aspect of fear just because it's a small account. In my normal account, I would have stayed in that trade. But given the volatility here, you're probably best to kind of stay out of the market. Just given the volatility here. We've got an overshoot. So we'll believe this low again.
Order filled.
Ooh. It's really got to come back up above this. There we go. We're not going to give it too much room here. It's really volatile. Give it a little bit of room. Yeah, ordinary, like I said, I'm trading from an aspect of, even me, I'm trading in an aspect of fear. And to kind of go off of what I said, if I were to imagine me and I had a smaller account and I had to trade from a smaller account, being able to come in and even do a $400 day on a small account is huge. That is huge. That's a big percentage account growth. But that comes from a system that I've adopted, that I believe in. And then it comes from me trading from conviction. And even then, you can still see me being skittish on a small account. You can see me trading from fear. So even now, I'm trading from fear. I'm not trading my normal aggressive style because of how, my capital. This capital's gone. I'm out of the market.
Stop filled.
Terrible. All right. I still want to be long here. I don't want to be short. I just don't see the short side playing out. I mean, it could. Did tap the VWAP. So we could look for another tap of the VWAP. We are momentum short here, so we really are against the momentum here. So we really should probably maybe be looking for the case of going momentum short. I just don't see that. Based on the daily chart, and this is where I go back to. Based on the daily chart, you've got a level here that maybe it wants to tap, which is the weekly open. Again, maybe. And then, so I guess you could look at 14,153 area, 14,169 area. It tagged here. Doesn't want to tag it again is the question. I don't know. I'm going to stay out here. I really wanted to breach 2,000. Not for any really reason. Once again, don't be fixated on numbers. Take what the market gives you. All right, so we're going to short here.
Order filled.
We're not going to be too aggressive just because of the volatility. And it did bounce off that level. Ooh. Two bad trades in a row. All right. We can't give this much room. Yeah. I don't like the way that's aligning. Can go either way here. So I really should probably decide whether or not I should not be trading. Yeah, there we go. All right, I saw what I needed to see on the long side. Dinged our P&L a little bit there. It made its decision what it wants to do on this low here. Could come down here a little bit more, which is what we might see. Yeah. Has to close above this level. I'm really going off the intention that we saw here, though. There we go. Okay, momentum shift, switched over here. Got a level here. Can go either way here, really, to tell you the truth. I mean, that's a given. You can say that any time of the chart. But it's too volatile. I really shouldn't be in this trade, given the volatility here. This is something where if you get a chance to get out, you probably should get out unless it clearly gets above. We're in a fade trade. Just be very upfront. We're in a fade trade. The momentum says go short, but where we're at on the larger time frame really says that, well, we got to be careful shorting at this level. Aggressive entry there.
Order filled.
Yeah, because this is an overshoot. Now it needs to, on this next couple tick prints, needs to close long. I probably should have entered right there. Otherwise, I just reverse. Okay, next candle needs to close long. Way too volatile. Well, it didn't, but it closed above in that upper range. We're above here. Find our reaction area. This is a hard trade to do, especially in a small account. You'd be freaking out. It's gonna rip up, I think. I'm in 4 too. Ah, jeez. How do I get into 4? I thought I was only in 3. Oh, we hit a stop on one of our Forex accounts. There's a trailing stop, so hopefully we got taken out at a good area. One, two, there we go. Guys, this whole trading, the last 15-20 minutes, I would call a D on my part. I want to be taken out for some profit. So we'll put trailing stop here. Just because of the volatility. I mean,
Stop filled.
in some ways we should take one of these positions. We'll take 2 of these positions and we'll just do a fixed stop. Now we're at a reaction area, are we not? So we should probably take some off. And there we are. Now, what are you asking? Did we see the low for the day? What happened? Let's just talk about what happened. Because I'm going to end this video here because, let's see. Open, sold off, came down around the RDA. It was momentum long all through the overnight session. Okay? Carrying that narrative forward. It gapped up on the index. Obviously the underline. Gapped up. Came up, tapped the weekly open on the NASDAQ. On the actually NQ. Tapped the weekly open. Sold off, which is really where we should have, like, my tunnel vision should have said, you know what, we should sell there, and then the overshoot there, and then a check below the RDA. But where did it really go? It went back and tagged the VWAP. I bet this is 1 standard deviation above the VWAP. As we look and see what's happening now, bounce off the VWAP. It's probably going to go back up to us 1 standard deviation of the VWAP, maybe right here around this. Maybe stall, possibly. It's at the momentum check right now, but maybe stall just short of the weekly open. And what do you have to ask? Do we have the high for the day, or do we have the low for the day? Now, here's the opening range. Here's the reaction. We're in the reaction stage. So this reaction is at a key area of the opening range and a momentum check-in. So if you didn't take profit, you should take profit here, just because there's a high probability there's going to be some type of reaction here. We'll give this a little bit more room. That's right, I can't move that. We'll go below the RDA. Give it a little bit more room. So we're right on overall direction. It just needed a little bit of time to figure out that, hey, the buyers need to hit the buy button. So we're targeting this area here for it to, maybe this level here. Maybe we would expect to see some kind of sell-off here. Keep going. These lines here are our close lines, and I edited the hour close lines. Oh no, those aren't our close lines. Where are the hour close lines? No, those aren't our close lines. Yeah, so these hour close lines that you see here, I'm editing these, or we're trying to see if whether or not we can do like and we're at the daily open, so we would expect some stall here. But editing to see if we can do some kind of ATR calculation and color them a certain way based on how far they are away from the ATR, and then maybe do some momentum. Something I'm testing right now. Really, there's no reason to get out of this trade yet. And in all reality, we should have probably entered down here, re-entered here. Especially when we saw this move here. We saw this move here. Right here. We should have said, okay, momentum long. I say we, there's no one else here. Maybe Rex. I mean, just Rex, but Rex isn't really helping me trade. He's more sleeping. But it's just easier to say we instead of I guess. All right, I think we're going to call it here. Not because there's not good trading here, but I got to make some more coffee. I got to work on some other training videos. I've got to work on some other stuff. And we're kind of, I mean, I kind of know how to trade the rest of the day. So it's kind of clear on how to trade the rest of the day, which is basically look for deep pullbacks, buy the deep pullbacks if they happen. Otherwise, follow momentum. You know, the momentum's about to shift on the 5-minute time frame. Look for levels. And I do think it wants to take out this previous high. I think it wants to go up here and maybe even overextend beyond this. It's where it wants to get to. I don't know if it's going to actually get there, but that's what it looks like it wants to do. That's a natural target, is that previous high, yesterday's high. We go here. Well, on the actual, that's a pretty big move. So really, we got this level here, which is the open, and this previous close. That's the first intermediate target you'll be looking for. First, it's got to get above the high of today, and then here. So we're at around the 500 level. So 14,500 handle or so is really where it wants to get. That's the first area. I'd expect an overshoot there. I'm in a really aggressive move, obviously. for the narrative to change in the market is for it to close above this area. If it closes above this area, today's Thursday, yeah, that allows Friday to then close strong. So if it does that, it gives permissions, quote unquote, for Friday to maybe even gap up and close strong. Who knows if that's going to happen. Let's see if we're taken out here, and then we'll call it a day. Once again, you'll find links down below for Discord. So if you haven't joined Discord, you definitely want to join Discord. If you have any questions, join Discord. You can DM me. If you're interested in the RexDog trading system, getting started with the training, DM me there. I'll tell you how to get started. It's real simple. And then from there, yeah, I think it's going to sell off here. It's going to come back and do a momentum check. We'll give it a chance, and maybe we'll get out above this high. So look at that. It perfectly stalled right at that level there, that 5-minute level. So we'll let it come in here and maybe just tag that high. Maybe it wants to continue up. Really, I'll just let the trailing stop take me out. We'll give it room, but I think it's going to fail here probably. Looks like it wants to fail. Starting to stall. Right here is a 1-hour level too, right above that high. So above this high would be a good place to take a exit, and then keep this here. If it gets, I could see it getting down here and retesting this, so that's not outside of the realm, but it's got quite a few momentum checks it's got to hit. It's got on the time chart, it's got on the little tick chart, on the big tick chart, and then this aligns right well with a momentum check in the 1 hour. All right, so we were taken out. We look at our performance center where we're at now, $700 or so. Really take 100 off for pre-market that I traded. So really, we're looking at what, $600 or so. Not bad for a small account. So we're going to call it a day. Once again, I appreciate you watching the video. If you have any feedback, any questions whatsoever, leave a comment down below. Join Discord. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and good luck in your trading.